Hey, quick question. Why is Fox just the absolute worst? Welcome to Gamerture Philosophy, where tiny details get massive attention. Let's overanalyze the ending of Fallout 3. Major spoilers ahead for a 16-year-old game. Fallout 3 is a Bethesda RPG, and back in 2008 it was cutting edge. Never mind that every game since has used the exact same engine, with the only updates being graphics and a regression in facial animations. Looking at you, Starfield. This was my first foray into the world of Fallout, and I bounced off of it hard my first few times. My Call of Duty conditioning made me ignore VATS entirely, until it finally clicked for me. I became immersed in this dead world, enjoying all of the scenic vistas and interesting people, as well as jamming to Galaxy News Radio. This is before I had ever played Mass Effect either, so experiencing the freedom of choice and having tons of creative solutions to the dilemmas that were presented was leagues more engaging than COD 4 ever was. I was working my way through the Capital Wasteland as an unstoppable force for good, and when the finale came, I faced the ultimate betrayal. The entire plot of Fallout 3 revolves around Project Purity, our father's pet project to sanitize all of the water in the Capital Wasteland. And of course, at the end, something goes wrong, and the facility you've been building up is gonna explode in radioactive glory if someone doesn't go in to fix it. However, if you have a certain companion who is completely immune to radiation, it should be an easy fix, right? Wrong! I was forced to sacrifice myself for the greater good because it was my destiny. All the while, my good-for-nothing, dead-eyed, dead-weight, wimpy, dumb, super mutant companion Fox refused to literally walk into a room, flip a switch, and walk out unscathed. This traitorous act has sat in the back of my mind for 16 long years, so I figured it's time to go back to where it all began and really rip this dingus a new one, philosophically speaking. So, let's rush through the opening garbage and get into the real gameplay. Coming back to Fallout 3 after so long, I thought I'd have a really great experience like I remembered having back when I first played it. But let me tell you, this 13-hour playthrough was a grind. Autosave only triggers when you pass a loading screen, which are few and far between in the open world environment, combat encounters being determined by a dice roll, and more bugs in that one restaurant. You know the one. I was constantly losing progress because of a landmine that wouldn't render, or whiffing shots that had like a 90% chance to hit, and even when I did manage to wade waist deep through all of the BS, the game would crash and I'd have to start all over. But I persevered and eventually found my nemesis, Fox. I resisted the urge to destroy him in his cell and instead brought him along so that I could open up those deep wounds once more now that I'm older and angrier. Fast forward to the end of the game. Let's enjoy this stupidity in real time so you can feel just a fraction of my pain.
Well, so much for celebrating. One of us is going to have to go in there and turn the damn thing on. And whoever does it isn't coming back out. Not exactly how I imagine going out, you know? So, what should we do? Draw straws? If that's how you want to do this, fine. But be quick about it.
This is a dire predicament. What shall we do? Of course! My immunity to radiation makes me a far better candidate for surviving in there. I would say that your destiny lies within that chamber, but you have already altered mine. The least I can do is return the favor, cycle the airlock, and we'll put an end to this.
Wait, what? No, don't tell. No. Well, there goes 13 hours of hell. Crap. I mean, I could have just looked it up. I can't believe it took me 16 years to realize that I was wrong. That's not true. That's impossible! I'm so mad right now. I can't believe this. Like, I just wasted 2 weeks. Are you telling me this whole time he would have gone in there for me? Well, kids, back in my day, we didn't have as open access to the internets, so I must have passed a skill check now that I didn't over a decade ago. I guess that's it. Wait. What's Ron Perlman blathering on about? I hate this game.
It was not until the end of this long road that the lone wanderer was faced with that greatest of virtues, sacrifice. But the child refused to follow the father's selfless example, instead allowing a true hero to venture into the irradiated control chamber of Project Purity.
I can't believe this. Wait, did Fox actually die?
Please be careful.
What? I guess I have to officially apologize to Fox. He's a homie and I consider him a close friend. Lover, perhaps. Now to direct my ire at my true nemesis, Ron Perlman. 1 second. Alright, enough of the gag. But this passing of judgment in the epilogue is a wild take on my choice to not nobly sacrifice myself. I'm more mad at the game now than I ever was at my dear, sweet Fox for all those years. This isn't even a niche, secret ending. Fox is presented to you in the main quest line. He isn't hiding in some obscure side quest. It is very likely that you too would bring a green, muscle-bound superhero to the end of the game. And yet, because I did so, I get roasted in the epilogue. The game said that I had embodied the virtues of my father.
Selflessness, compassion, honor guided this noble soul through countless trials and triumphs.
However, I morally failed when I was confronted with...
It was not until the end of this long road that the lone wanderer was faced with that greatest of virtues, sacrifice. But the child refused to follow the father's selfless example, instead allowing a true hero to venture into the irradiated control chamber of Project Purity.
Let's overanalyze this. Starting off, let's take this epilogue as gospel to define the ethics that the game wants you to abide by. The virtues you must live by can easily be placed in order. First, we know sacrifice goes on top, and then the other ones can just fall beneath that in no particular order. Obviously, the game/writers really want to drive home that sacrifice is the most important virtue. They even couch the entire true hero segment with Daddy Dearest's self-sacrifice and use my dead dad to contrast my actions. Dick move, TBH, canonically it's been like, what, 2 or 3 days since he died? So, to define the status of being a true hero in the game's own terms, it must be true that you live a virtuous life with the ultimate goal of sacrificing yourself. Let's see how the shining example of Fox lives up to this ideal. Well, look at our true hero alive and well, not having sacrificed anything but his time. I know you did your best, I'm just trying to make a point, Sugar Bear. Fallout 3 is an outright hypocrite for making its judgment against me. Based on the ethics it gave me 2 sentences ago, Fox isn't a true hero at all. He sacrificed nothing. I was so confused at this that when this was all playing out in real time, I was questioning whether or not Fox had actually died in the room since they made such a big fuss about his sacrifice. But no, all I was met with was Fox's caring gaze and disappointment at Ron's mean words about me. To drag this out even further and qualify this as being technically about philosophy, let's turn this scenario into a handy-dandy trolley problem. If you aren't familiar with the trolley problem, it commonly goes like this. You wake up at a railroad track in front of a switch. A trolley is coming and can't be stopped. If you don't pull the switch, the trolley will continue down its track and run over 5 strangers that are tied up to the track. If you flip the switch, the trolley goes down another track where a single stranger is tied up and will surely die. Do you flip the switch? This seemingly simple question is where morality goes to die. There is no right answer, and the trolley problem has undergone nearly infinite iterations, further increasing the nuance and testing your moral code. Things like, what if one person was a baby and the 5 were old and are about to die of old age anyways? What if one of the 5 people on the track is Hitler and the other 4 are innocent? You can modify this as much as you want for a fun, introspective experience into the threshold of atrocity you are willing to accept. Since we are on a roll with trolley problems, let's do the Fallout 3 version. You wake up at a railroad track in front of a switch. If you don't flip the switch, the trolley passes without any consequences. If you flip the switch, the trolley switches over to a line with a person tied down to it and runs them over. Which do you choose? Okay, let's make this a little harder. You wake up in front of a heavily irradiated room. Someone must go in and flip a switch in the room to stop it from blowing up and killing the whole city. If you go in, you successfully flip the switch, but you will die a horrible, painful death. Your friend, however, is completely immune to radiation and would suffer no consequences from going in and flipping the switch. Which do you choose? Sorry, it seems I've said the same thing twice. The Fallout 3 trademarked answer would of course be to flip the switch and kill the innocent person on the other rail. That is insane and objectively wrong. There isn't any level of nuance here either. This is literally simpler than the original trolley problem before it starts ramping up, and Fallout 3 can't make it to the first step. It isn't even the first step, this is step 0. You have basic morality. It came for free with your existence. Honestly, this is probably why Fallout 3 is so buggy. Imagine the colossal effort and computing power it would take to render all of the possible ethical decisions I could make in-game when the program can't get past the easiest version of the trolley problem. When you have Fox as a companion at the end of the game, there are 0 stakes. It goes from a tragic sacrifice to just another Tuesday. Fallout 3 fails to justify its hard stance of sacrifice is king when it lauds Fox for risking nothing and criticizes us for not wanting to die in vain. That's just at face value too. I haven't even gotten into the nuance of keeping us alive being a massive force for good versus letting me, the Wasteland savior, die pointlessly. In my playthrough, I had a Gandhi/Mother Teresa level karma. I saved towns, deactivated active nukes, granted mercy to people suffering indefinitely in a simulation, found some lame orphan kids some new parents. I'm biased, but I'd say overall I was fixing the Wasteland one side quest at a time. Apparently, my character was the only person in Greater DC with any initiative because these problems could have been literally solved by anyone else with half a brain. But I guess that's true of DC in reality too. Accounting for my net positive impact on the world, why on earth would it be better for me to stop doing good by dying when I could accomplish even more good and fulfill the main quest without dying? That just means I can go out and do more good. It's not like the water purification can only happen in the event of my death. So really, the stakes are losing Wasteland Jesus or not. Heck, before throwing me under the bus, the game congratulated me for all the good I'd done. This isn't just a betrayal of ethics, but of gameplay mechanics as well. A major part of game development is creating teaching scenarios for the player through carrot and stick interactions. In a multiplayer game, if you team kill or otherwise troll your team, it results in you being kicked or banned, whatever. That's the stick. If a game wants you to engage with a mechanic or system, it will reward you for helping an NPC with experience, loot, or anything else that would really benefit your character. That's the carrot. The developers want you to play the game in a certain way and will therefore incentivize and teach you through gameplay how they want you to optimally engage with the content. With this in mind, the most poignant example of gameplay mechanics reinforcing my objectively correct decision to let Fox take one for the team, if you can even call it that, is literally part of the main story quest when you first meet and rescue Fox. You're sent to Vault 87 to collect a MacGuffin called the Gek, so Project Purity can work. Vault 87 was doing some pretty heinous experimentation, and as you explore this Mengalian nightmare, you stumble across Fox, a surviving quote-unquote patient, locked in confinement since the bombs dropped however many years ago. If you free him, which a good person would do, i.e. me, you gain experience points that you would otherwise not get, indicating that this is something deserving praise and what the devs wanted you to do. And he offers to help you get the Gek, located deeper in the facility because
The chamber in which the Gek resides is absolutely flooded with radiation. It's unlikely you'd survive very long. Myself, on the other hand, have surprisingly inherited a useful trait from my fellow meta-humans. I am highly resistant to radiation. Let me out of here, and I will place the Gek safely in your hands.
Fallout 3 is showing me, through gameplay incentives and design, that in the event of exposing myself to high radiation, I either need to put myself at risk, or let this jolly green giant, who is entirely immune to radiation, do the work for me. He volunteers at the drop of a hat because it is literally a non-issue for him. The game goes out of its way to make sure you interact with Fox. The vault you're in is linear, not an open world. In one of the last segments of the vault, right after an area transition door, he literally yells at you to come and free him.
You! Over there! Please, come speak to me. I'm in the room to your left.
He isn't located off in some dark corner of the map. His cell is at a dead end of a T, where if you go left, you continue on to the Gek, and if you go right, you find a terminal to free him. Here's a map for all of you who can't visualize an apple in your mind. If the devs wanted this to be a more unique or rare experience, they wouldn't have placed him where you literally cannot miss him, and even if you could miss him, he yells out to you before you even see him. This indicates to me, the dumb player, that this guy is kinda important and maybe I should spare a few seconds to talk to him. The icing on the cake is that he is actually useful for an immediate need, so even the most self-centered player could see that using this lummox as a means to an end is worth a slight detour. Freeing him isn't some elaborate high skill check feat either. If you have a high enough science level, you can open just his cell. Otherwise, you can open all cells for a much lower, if it even exists, science threshold, which releases all of the abominations which are hostile to you, rather than only our friendly neighborhood Fox. It is possible to complete this mission without his aid, and there are resources like a radiation suit you can get to ameliorate the radiation contamination, but you have to actively try to ignore Fox. Using Fox is the obvious key to the obvious puzzle presented by the game, obviously. Then, after our boo Fox gets the Gek, you're immediately abducted by the bad guys and taken to their base. You break out and escape, and guess who is waiting outside with a giant laser Gatling gun mowing down enemies? Beautiful Fox. So in the span of half an hour, I've been told by the game that this NPC is really useful for radioactive scenarios, which abound in a nuclear wasteland, and then shown that this guy is a heavily armed tank that can protect me with his big, strong arms. Why would I not invite him to be my companion for however long the game lasts? When you make the obvious choice that the game is curating for you, the next mission in the main questline is the finale. It literally goes, find Gek, get Tooken, turn on the Brita filter. In my playthrough, only an hour of playtime passed between meeting Fox and beating the game, and that is including delays caused by bugs and me dying. I wasn't over-leveled or anything like that either. My total playtime was just over 13 hours. Xbox says it should take 26 hours to beat the main game, and I did it in half that. This isn't a short game by any stretch. I apparently did 13 hours less than the bare minimum, and I was still able to recruit Fox and have him make the noble sacrifice on my behalf. This is my second time playing the game, and I didn't look up guides or anything to shore up my chances for success. I was legitimately convinced the game wouldn't allow me to use Fox in the end. If I knew what I was doing at the start, and that he'd take the bullet for me, I probably wouldn't have even made this video. This only damns the game further because for the player, using Fox to get the Gek and using him to activate Project Purity are less than an hour apart. Maybe even shorter if you've been diligently exploring all the side content, getting leveled up and enjoying the game, and it is presented as more or less the intended and right experience. If there were more content and space in the main story between finding Fox and beating the game, I could see how this little setup and payoff could be overlooked. But when these situations are back to back, it makes the epilogue's judgment even more confusing because of how seemingly intentional these similar scenarios are staged. Let's belabor my point. In the Gek scenario, I either risk my own health and safety from radiation poisoning, getting a machine but won't die, or I allow someone else to do it who will not be harmed in any way. I'm rewarded for choosing the second option. Now for the end of the game, I either 100% die to radiation poisoning and flip a switch, or I allow someone else to do it who will not be harmed in any way. I'm berated for choosing the second option. If it is ethical for me to prevent a little bit of suffering to myself, why is it magically unethical to prevent ultimate suffering to myself, especially when I've just literally seen my true hero in the exact same situation that he volunteered to put himself in on my behalf. I love you. At every level, Fallout 3's hard-on for self-sacrifice doesn't make any sense, and the only reason it's in the game is because the writers demand it. This undermines the game's own ethics and gameplay mechanics just to make you feel like a little bitch because you didn't want to die pointlessly. In a game where options abound for solving every problem, having such a sharp dichotomy of right and wrong to cap it all off isn't only a betrayal to the player, but to the entire morality system of the game. Being lectured that you made the bad decision only works when you actually made a bad decision rather than not correctly guessing the arbitrary desires of the people writing the story. Fallout 3 not sticking the landing with the ending isn't what makes me dislike the game either. It's just a kick in the nuts at the bottom of the stairs I just fell down trying to play the dumb thing. Well, thank you for taking your time and hanging out with me to the very end. This was a really fun video to make. I cannot actually believe that I thought for so long that the game railroaded you into not being able to use Fox. I'm glad I discovered it because I still got to make this video, but I'm still just cracking up at it. I literally thought the whole video was going to be screwed whenever I finally beat the game. But thank goodness that the game made the decision for me to get mad at me so I could get mad at it. I hope you enjoyed listening to me rant a little bit more than usual in this video. I have more content that I'm going to be making. Find me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter, and yeah, like and subscribe.